You have probably helped thousands of patients, millions of people on social media. What do you think people do wrong? The number one thing they do wrong on a carnivore diet when they first start?
I think it's usually they're not actually fully on a carnivore diet. That's the most common thing when I see people not having the results that they want. Maybe they're getting improvements, but they're like, yeah, I feel better, but I'm not really getting these dramatic improvements that everybody else is talking about. Um, it's almost always that they're not pure meat and only water. That's a big one. And the other one is having those unrealistic expectations. We get so myopic with one thing, like they want fat loss, or they want their eczema to go away, or they want something. And so they're focused on that one thing. And so they lose sight of the forest for the trees. So all these things are getting better and improving, but this one thing isn't going as fast as they want. And they're just like, what the hell is happening? You get very anxious and you can get very discouraged. And you can end up dropping off of it because you're like, well, this isn't happening. It's not working for me. I've seen people. There's one lady in the comments. She was very nice. She said that she actually really, really liked the carnivore diet. She was really sad that it didn't work for her because, it made her feel so much better. She was able to come off her medications for autoimmune diseases. Her diabetes went away and she felt so much better, had tons of energy and mental clarity. Brain fog was gone. She was sleeping better. And so she was like, all these, feeling so much better, but just wasn't really losing weight. So I guess it just didn't work for me. And I had to stop it. And it was just like, it sounds like it was working amazingly well for you. It's just, you have to look at the whole picture and not just at one endpoint. Because if that one endpoint isn't moving as fast as you want it to, you'll lose track of all these other things. So again, first and foremost, this is about your health. Your overall health, is that improving? And if the answer is yes, then you need to keep going. And eventually, as you get healthier, your weight and the eczema and all these other sorts of things will keep getting better. And when I asked that lady, I said, okay, what exactly are you eating? She said she was eating a lot of meat, but she was also having dairy and coffee and erythritol, monk fruit sugar, in her coffee, with cream. And that is a classic weight loss stall is artificial sweeteners. And it's, oh, well, no, the studies show what the authors want them to show. And when you have industry funded research, you're going to get industry supportive results, which are erythritol is great. That's what you're going to get. And all these benefits, blah, blah, blah. But when you get independent labs that are doing independent studies, then you generally find the opposite. And so there are no end of studies showing that erythritol, stevia, other artificial sweeteners can actually give an insulin spike, and you get reactive hypoglycemia as a result. Your insulin goes up, and you're again in this fat storage mode, and you lock down your fat stores. So you can't actually burn fat, those sorts of things. And then you're adding in dairy and all that sort of stuff. So, main thing is, not looking at the big picture and being too focused on one endpoint and not seeing all the other benefits that you're getting. Count your blessings. I mean, it's a saying for a reason. Look at the things that are going better, look at the things that are going well, and be thankful for that, and trust the process, and trust that this is, the rest of it's going to improve as well, because it's doing it for millions of other people. Why is it not going to do it for you of all people? And then be really actually full carnivore. Just eat fatty meat, only drink water, cut out the rest. Down the line, when you've reached your health goals and you want to add back in poison, go for it. See how it goes. And you add one thing back in at a time. You say, okay, well, I don't have a problem with that. Fine. I mean, I don't care. I'm not here to be like, oh, you can only ever eat meat. I just want people to understand that meat's not bad for you. It's not going to cause disease. And we've been lied to about this. That's important for people to know. And that plants do have toxins and they can cause disease. And we're seeing this in everyday life. And it really shouldn't be a fight. I mean, it's staring us in the face. But, if you get your health improvements and, you want to start adding things back in, and you feel that they're not drawing you back and, making you, go back, sucking you back into your old life and your old ways, fine. That's up to you. If you can achieve these goals and not be, strict just meat and water, fine. That's fine too. A lot of people need to be though. And so if you're not finding that you're getting the results that you want, look at what you're eating. It's not enough to just eat meat, because meat's not this magic elixir that will just heal you. It's the nutrients that you need to allow your body to heal itself. But these other things cause harm and prevent your body from healing itself. And that's really important to remember. So if you're not getting the results that you want, if it's not going exactly how you want, get rid of absolutely everything besides fatty meat and water and see how you go. Quite often, things will get better.
Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.
How would you make America healthy again if you were to be nominated as JFK Jr.'s team?
Yeah, wow, that would be amazing. Just to try to get these same principles out to people that there are things in this world that cause harm. They're starting to figure that out, and they're looking at processed food, but it's not just processed food. There are other things that cause harm. I mean, I love that people are drawing attention to the fact that we have, we're using artificial ingredients and really garbage chemicals and putting this in food, and other countries that just have that as illegal. You can't do that. We know that these things cause harm, or at least we strongly suspect they do. And yet, so they're illegal in other countries, but they're legal in America, and we're putting this crap in the food, and and that can cause harm. But talking about like the different dyes and things like that are in Fruit Loops and other ingredients and all that sort of stuff. And, I think that that's important to point out, but at the same time, the problem isn't that there's red dye 40 in Fruit Loops. The problem is you're eating Fruit Loops, right? Fruit Loops are just god awful trash. And yes, there should be a standard, by which we treat the food industry, that you don't get to put these deleterious chemicals in the food, but the food is not food. It's garbage, and so, that is really important to get rid of that crap, get rid of this processed food, and educate people. I think it's really important. I think it's really important also to hold people accountable. I mean, we have seen examples of, we know the sugar company lied and put out, fake research to say that cholesterol caused heart disease. People should be held culpable for that. And maybe those people that originally made that decision are dead now or have moved on. But what about the people that have perpetuated that and continued to push the funding of fraudulent studies to keep perpetuating that lie? We had the tobacco companies did this for 30 years, putting out research saying that, fake research that said that tobacco wasn't addictive, that it didn't cause emphysema, it didn't cause cancer, it was super good for you, it made you a man's man, and all that sort of bullshit. And then they got caught out. They found their memos that said that they knew full well this stuff was horrible for you and totally addictive. And what happened? They got fined $400 billion in the 80s. And, oh my goodness, it's a big fine. Who cares? They knowingly put out a product that was killing people by the millions, right? Where the hell is the criminal suit against them? Those bastards should have been in jail or in front of a firing squad. That's mass murder. They intentionally put out a product that they knew would kill people so that they could profit off of it. You have to die if that happens. I'm not telling everybody to go hurt anybody. I'm talking about actual in the judicial system. Those sorts of people should be criminally prosecuted. And so I think it's the same thing for the sugar companies that are putting out this horrible product and lying about it, and they're paying people to lie. I think that should be met with criminal action, not just civil action. Um, there's a lot of things. I mean, one of the things is in industry, it's the the food and drug companies and things like that. They get to decide what the FDA classifies as grass, generally recognized as safe, and that's putting the fox in charge of the hen house, right? So it's like they'll say like, hey, is this generally recognized as safe? Like, or do we need to regulate you and do studies and see if it's okay? No, it's safe. It's fine. Okay, we trust you. Like, why would you do that? The job of the FDA is to actually check that stuff. And a lot of times we put things in the food system, in the food supply, or in makeup and beauty and cleaning agents and these sorts of things without ever testing if they're healthy for humans. And we have to wait until they get, irrefutably proven to be toxic, like tobacco, before anything's ever done about it. It's not even like those were banned. It was just, they just, knew about it now. And people just said, hey, this causes emphysema, right? And that was it. But, like things like trans fats, we had trans fats for 100 years. And, back in the 90s, we knew that this was causing heart disease and heart attacks. It only got banned and to an appreciable level in 2020, right? So it's like, I mean, I learned about how it's atherogenic in organic chemistry, in 2000. So, why are we waiting so long? Why are we doing it the other way around? Why aren't we proving something safe first before we start giving it to people to eat? Right now, we're just shoveling it in people and saying, hey, you can eat this. And then you have to prove that it's toxic. And then you can ban it. But it takes decades and decades and decades to do it. So that's backwards. I think you need to prove something's safe first and then, do that. And also be reproducible, because you have the glyphosate studies that said, oh, look at these animal models, 3 months, totally fine, no problems. Okay, but but when you reproduced it, you showed that no, actually, these animals get very, very sick. You just have to do it for a decent amount of time. When I was learning the scientific method and how to conduct research and things like that, it was very clear. Like you didn't trust something. You looked at it with a grain of salt. If it was just someone's experiment that they did, it had to be reproducible. So if somebody hadn't reproduced or followed your same steps and gotten the same results in an independent setting, you don't really trust it yet. And if it's reproducible elsewhere, you're like, okay, great, that's fine. But we've gone away from that. We don't do that. We don't look at reproducible studies, and it costs people too, because David Sinclair from Harvard, he came up with resveratrol. It's like, oh, this anti-aging thing, and grape seeds and things like that. I don't know why I would, but okay, so great. We're saying that this is anti-aging and it helps people. Well, he sold the rights to resveratrol to some major company for like $700 million, right? And then they tried to reproduce his studies and couldn't. So now they're suing him, saying, hey, you sold us bullshit. But that's the whole point of reproducibility. Like, you need to show in an independent setting that this actually works the way you say it to, or you shouldn't spend $700 million on it. Those sorts of things. So criminalizing these criminal business practices, I think, is really important. Setting, making actual regulators say what's grass or not, proving that something's safe before you start feeding it to people, and having reproducible studies to show this. And just as a complete aside, I think probably one of the main things that would completely revolutionize healthcare as we know it is using reference ranges for lab tests that actually denote optimal levels as opposed to averages. And so people don't recognize this. Most doctors don't understand this, that the lab reference ranges are just averages. They're not optimal ranges. They're not saying, oh, this is what we want. We treat them as that. We say, oh yeah, you're in the reference range. That's our reference range. So that's fine. That's what we use. Okay, so if it's outside of that, ooh, that's bad. But in the range, oh, that's all fine. So that would assume and presume that those are optimal reference ranges, but they're not. And they're not even advertised as optimal reference ranges. They're advertised as average reference ranges. And the average person is sick, overweight, and malnourished. Why are we comparing ourselves to the average person? I don't want to compare myself to the average person. I want to compare myself to an optimal person. And so when you look at optimal reference ranges, it's very different. This is why every single lab in your same town will have different reference ranges.
Hey everyone, really happy to announce a new sponsor for the show and for everybody down in Australia, Stockman Steaks, who are delivering high quality grass-fed and finished pasture-raised beef and other meats, flash frozen and vacuum sealed to your door, something that I've been enjoying a lot of myself recently as well. They also have a great range of specialty items such as high-fat keto mince and carnivore beef and organs mince with liver, kidneys, and beef heart as well. So use code Chaffee today for a free order of beef mince or another specialty gift along with your order at stockmansteaks.com.au, and I'll see you over there. Thanks, guys.
People say, well, if you're in a different location, in a different environment, that matters. It doesn't actually. That's a completely made up concept. But if you're in the snow, you need the same amount of B12 as you do in the desert. It's B12. You just need it, right? And so, but that also doesn't explain why 3 labs all next door to each other in the same town all have different reference ranges. You're in the same exact environment. So that's nothing new. So just changing reference ranges to actual agreed upon optimal reference ranges that have been found through maybe looking at averages for actual healthy people. And this has been done in Germany, where they looked at people in their 20s, average age 25, both men and women, that just had normal BMI and no diagnosed medical issues. That's it. Very low bar. And those reference ranges are wildly different. And then through research and people studying this and saying, okay, what's optimal? Where do we want to be? And say, okay, this is what we think based on this research. Using those reference ranges, you would absolutely revolutionize medicine, because you would allow doctors to see problems instead of have it being hidden by the averages. Because if everybody, the average person in Western countries eats 80% of their calories are plant-based. It's just they're largely processed plants, junk food, right? Or pizza, bread, these sorts of things. So that's by calories. So people say, oh, we need to go plant-based. We're already plant-based. 80% plant-based, except me, except you too. So that's the average person is plant-based. And so the average person is not getting enough B12. That's all there is to it. And I check everybody's B12. There's no one whose B12 is in a good range unless they're carnivore or heavily supplementing. And most people don't supplement enough if they're not on a carnivore diet. And so, but that's hidden because everybody's B12 deficient. So because it's an average of that community, that malnourished community, then you're hiding that. So now, because everybody's B12 deficient and you're looking at that average, now no one's B12 deficient. So that reference range is slid down to the left. Same with testosterone. We know now that testosterone in men is the lowest it's ever been in recorded history. And yet most people are in that reference range. Okay. That's because the reference range goes too low, because it's an average for a sick population. And so when you go to the doctor and you feel unwell and you have all these problems, you go, look, I don't know what's going on, but something's wrong. And your doctor does a ton of blood tests and goes like, okay, well, what's going on? Well, B12's fine, testosterone's fine, this is fine, that's fine. They go like, okay, well, I don't feel fine. So obviously you're missing something. And then you look at optimal reference ranges and you actually see that there's about 15 things that are wrong. But if they're hidden in the average reference ranges, you can't see them. And so a doctor doesn't even know what there is to treat because he's not seeing anything, right? And so just using optimal reference ranges will allow you as a clinician to see what's wrong and to address it. And I think that would make a massive difference. I mean, that's one of the main things I do in my practice is just look at optimal reference ranges. and I can show people all these things that are wrong and say, look, you have to change your life in these ways. And you can use medications to help with that as well. But if you are looking at the wrong reference ranges, if you're looking at the average reference ranges, you're not even going to see the problem in the first place, unless it's really bad, unless it's just floridly deficient or something else. But I think that would make a massive difference in how we treat patients. And they're finding that they're massively improving the health of their microbiome. In fact, there was, we're seeing this just all over the place, and many people are publishing this. Dr. Ken Berry has published this. Benazati's published this. Dr. Sean O'Mara has published this, and in fact, Dr. Sean O'Mara, his microbiome was so good that the president or whomever of the company that he used to test his microbiome personally called him and said, "You have the best microbiome our company has ever tested. What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "All right, I'll tell you." And Benazati, who's been doing a clean, omnivorous, ketogenic diet, so